Do you think that if people could see the inside of your head, that they would run away screaming? That if they knew what you're thinking, they would absolutely throw you out of the house, let alone the church? Yeah, me too. If people really knew what I thought, oh my goodness. Those first thoughts, not great, people. And I used to think that that kind of disqualified me from serving, from being in church leadership, from actually even being like really a Christian, because you'd hate to see me if I actually wasn't a Christian. Here's the thing, those initial thoughts and those thoughts that we have, they're often just like the scars that we carry, the bruises that we have. And it's always the second thought and the action where we allow space for God that gets us there. And one of the most beautiful things I know is that this little prayer that I say over and over often is, God, give me space between my thought and my action. And that God pours in the middle, that little bit of time and space from when you are thinking to when you are doing, for me, is just grace. And so that first thought that I have, that not as positive about my fellow people thought that I have, doesn't have to be the behaviour, and it doesn't have to be who I am. And that first thought is kind of just private between me and God a lot of the time. And it's funny because the more you practice the spiritual discipline, the more you practice the pause in between what you think and what you say, the less of those thoughts you have anyway. And it's like this kind of healing happens because you don't act out in them and you give them over. I think this is kind of a reminder for me today, as much as for you guys, to have that pause in between my thinking and my doing. And also to be kind to myself and to you about that first thought. That it comes from a past of trauma and scarring and bruising. And it doesn't have to be who I am today. God, we hand over our first thoughts to you. We hand over the insides of our brains and the messiness of them. And we lay them down at your feet. And Lord, help us today to have a pause between what we are thinking and what we are doing. Amen.